This show is sponsored by Realtor Cynthia Baer, Putting Down Roots. Visit your in-town real estate specialist in Atlanta at cynthiabaer.com.
You are now tuned in to the Good Gracious Show. Welcome.
Howdy, Good Gracious family. It is Monday, November 25th, 2019, and this is Boyd Baker with the Good Gracious Show podcast, episode 138. And on this episode, I have the amazingly talented and very engaged Kavi Vu. And it's a wonderful time to talk about how we engage creators, how we become better creators, but also how we become better citizens. Kavi is a poet, a storyteller, videographer, has her own business, but also has just got her fingers in a whole lot of different pies, doing great stuff in the community. And one of those is a videocast podcast called Wake Up Atlanta. You can see it on Facebook and other places. Some work she's done with her partner, Kavi Vu. And they talk about what it means to wake up and pay attention to what's going on, as well as, you know, how people vote, how they don't vote, how we can engage young voters, how we can talk about issues, how we can cross cultural barriers. So it's great stuff, and just a wonderful chat. So I want you to just sit back and enjoy the lilting tones of Kavi Vu.
My name is Kavi Vu, and I am a creator in Atlanta.
Nice. We need more of those.
Yeah.
Don't we?
Yeah.
I mean, like if every
Totally
third person was a creator, then all this energy just bouncing.
Yeah. I think we have too many corporate people who are like pent up creators. And then they're just angry.
Yeah.
And then they just like honk at you on the road. And you're like, okay, just go create something and quit your 9 to 5.
That's right. Yeah, there is something freeing that does give you that.
Yeah.
Well, I ran across you as a reference from some other folks that I had talked to. And at the time, I think you were doing a lot more spoken word or poetry. How did you get into doing that?
Spoken word. Well, I thought I was a rapper. And then
So you're a recovering
I was quickly
rapper.
told, yeah. I entered this contest called Collaboration. It was like a talent show. And I had this piece that I wrote in college to my mom, like kind of revealing that I was not doing pre-med and like, don't come to my graduation.
Right.
Like it ain't gonna be pretty. And I think a lot of people, I thought it was just like, just telling my story. And I didn't realize that so many people would resonate with that. There were so many college students who, I won the talent show, and then there was this interview where they're like, okay, so how long have you been doing spoken word? And I'm like, what's that? I'm a rapper. So, and then once I won that contest, I was kind of like flown across the country and performed, and it was really cool.
That does sound cool.
Yeah, I was just like graduating college. Had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, and what were the groups, or who was flying you around, or what was those experiences connecting with folks?
It was really random. There were like a lot of Asian American student groups that just wanted to see Asian American talent. And I guess this is 9-10 years ago, there wasn't a lot.
And collaboration does that for a lot of folks, right? That becomes kind of a central hub where you can, you can see folks that are modeling the arts.
Yeah. And so I think at the time I was like one of the only Vietnamese American spoken word artists. So they were just like,
So you were it was like you were the capital.
Yeah, it was like me or like one other guy
Right.
in like Chicago. So yeah, it was just us. And so everywhere that we went, like we'd
Saw
see
each
each
other.
other and be like, hey, you. Like, yeah, we do that thing. Cool. And every time people needed like substantial talent, like not, like
Talent is everywhere. We know it is.
Yeah. But sometimes you need something different than like a dance crew, something with a message.
Right.
So they're like, okay, Kavi, come on stage and perform for like the FDA. I'm like, what? And they had like an Asian American like awareness month.
Of course.
Yeah. So
wow.
Every May.
There's your hustle right there, man.
Oh, it was hustle.
You just start hitting all the businesses that are trying to show, hey, we love everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a market there.
It was rough. I had just like entered my corporate job, and so like Monday through Friday was like the corporate thing, and then like Friday night I would fly out, perform Saturday, stay there to like network on Sunday, and then like fly home and get to work.
Oh man.
Yeah. It felt good though.
Yeah. Well, you're young. It's easy.
Right. I had energy back then.
Yeah. It's not like you had a bunch of kids or responsibilities or anything.
Yeah.
It works out.
It was great.
Well, so you took some of that experience, I think, probably being in front of folks, to morph into this Wake program. Tell me what's going on there, man.
Yeah.
Because I caught some of that. I found that really fascinating.
I think so. So at the time I was doing video production, editing, a lot of editing from my corporate job at an agency. And I wanted to, I don't know, I just felt a calling to California. And I was like, I want to go work in California. And I had a friend at BuzzFeed. And I was like, wow, the glory of working at BuzzFeed, I guess, at the time. And I started making a ton of food videos to add to my reel to go to BuzzFeed. And I had an interview. Everything went really well. And they were like, okay, we can take you in January. And this was 2016, around October 2016. And I told my job, I made this big deal that was like, I'm going to BuzzFeed in California, like, peace out, Atlanta, you're too small. And like all these things, I had this big Facebook post about it. And then the presidential elections happened, and I just didn't feel like I could leave.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
I didn't feel like I could leave.
Do you have family here?
Well, my family's in Florida, but I guess, I don't know, like the country was just in a weird time and still is. And at the time I was doing a little bit of voter engagement work with a friend, and she's like, okay, you're going to go to California, LA at that, where there's just this nice blue bubble. And I don't think she said it in these words and made me feel this guilty, but I felt it, and I felt like the fight is here in Georgia. I'm sure there are a lot of problems in California, but we have such different problems here in Georgia. And being from the South, I was basically raised in South Georgia, and so I just know just how different our struggles here are. So I didn't feel like I could leave. And at the time, Fee, my partner in Wake Up Atlanta, was like, hey, there's this ideas challenge. The Center for Civic Innovation had a $10,000 reward, which at the time was like, whoa, that's so much money. We're rich. And she's like, I have this idea that we could make this web show to explain local elections to millennials, because we're so absent in elections. And if Did Not Vote was a presidential candidate, they would have won. Right. And I'm like, what? And at the time, I'm pretty like sleepy still. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I voted. So like in the presidential election, I don't see what's the problem. But then she started telling me about,
facts,
local elections. Yeah, little things. And I was like, whoa, I didn't realize local elections. Like, I don't even know what that is. Like, we have senators, local senators. Like, what is that? And so Wake Up Atlanta was born out of, I think, just our journey of learning about what affects our lives. And it helped that we got the grant from Center for Civic Innovation And I mean, we spent it in like 2 days on equipment. And I'm like, oh, now I'm broke again.
Yeah. But it was the concept between Wake Up Atlanta, was it to focus on millennials, or was it more Asian American millennials? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, because I know I've watched some, and there's a strong point there, which is obvious. I mean, the two of you've got that vested interest.
Yeah, definitely Asian American millennials. I think
the information transfers, though.
It does.
No doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. We focus on Asian American millennials because we have the lowest voter turnout in the country and in Georgia. And it's weird because...
But how does that happen?
So now we
Why
have
do you think it
a
happens?
ton of assumptions now, but I'll just use myself as like the persona. But so my parents came here after the Vietnam War, and I think so we weren't citizens until I was like 17. So I think in school when I was learning about local government, civics, none of it applied to me.
Because you felt like you weren't a citizen, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah, and I wasn't a citizen. Like it applied in school, it applied to my test scores,
right.
But it didn't apply to like home. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of Asian Americans, we compartmentalize. There's like school, and then there's home, or there's friends, and then there's home. And so as I was learning the stuff with Fee, I was like, really? Like, what does a mayor do? And probably nobody knows that, but more so, even more so, I was like, what is city council? And there was just these,
and why does it matter? Most importantly,
questions. Right. And so, and we Asian American millennials have even lower voter turnout than our parents, and I think it's because we just like skipped like this big, why does it matter part, and went straight to like, I need to find a job, and I need to make my parents proud. That's it. And
if it's not baked in at home, it's really hard for it to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there's no civic education, and our parents, like, there's not a lot of in-language material for them. So if they don't understand it, they definitely can't teach it to us.
Yeah. So how do they, just out of curiosity, do you know the numbers of what the turnout is between Asian Americans and African Americans and anything like that? Yeah.
So our voter turnout was 3%. I want to say it was either 3% or 0.3% in Atlanta.
There's a big difference.
Yeah, that is a really big difference. But I think everyone else was around like the 20s,
really?
Which is still
still sucks.
Terrible.
Yeah,
but ours was like really terrible. Yeah.
That's interesting. So what's the hope if you had that grand dream for Wake Up Atlanta? What would that be?
Yeah, it has changed, but. Oh, okay. I remember the statistic now. Okay. I remember the number now. When we first started, the Asian American voter turnout in Atlanta was 3%. And after and I'm sure a lot of other reasons, because after the presidential election, maybe some people woke up or, whatever. But after we did outreach, it was 22%.
Man. So it shows you there's a chance.
There is. Yeah. And I think we don't need to be like at 100% because that's impossible.
But it should always be your goal.
Yes. When we first started doing this, I was like, like every single person who's registered to vote will vote. But now I just want us to have a voice, and I want politicians to see us
So do you feel like that's kind of a problem that politicians don't necessarily see the Asian community?
Yeah,
the Asian American community?
I think because it's
so
like,
segmented too, because when you talk about Asia,
like which one? Yeah.
And some are very strong and political, and some are just there trying to survive.
Right, and there's like politics back at home in our home countries. Right. And it's like we're not even talking about that.
Right, between folks that we're not crazy about them, and we're not crazy about them.
Right,
so,
right. So it's this circle where like we don't think that politicians do outreach to us, so we don't vote, and because we don't vote, they don't do outreach. Yeah. So it's like, okay, like who's gonna break this? So we try as Wake Up Atlanta to try to get the turnout, but also to get politicians to answer our questions. Like in the mayoral election, we sent out a survey, and we're like, hey, if you cared about Asian Americans, you would answer the survey.
Right.
And a
How
good
did
amount
that
of
go?
a good amount of candidates did.
Yeah.
But of course, like we have like 1,000 fans. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, you're my first priority over NPR.
But still, it's an effort. So do you have plans for the upcoming election, and what are those?
So once we started doing election work, I realized that I think people thought of us, and I also thought of us as this like news source. But then we realized like so much work went into one video. I was like, I cannot possibly do this every 2 weeks. I'll die. And like I got bills to pay. I got to do my client work as well. But I want to try that out where we just give people local news in a digestible, interesting way. So we're going to try that out.
So you're going to add some news along to the
Elections
inspirational,
work. Yeah, because like we were so focused on, like one season would only be focused on the Gwinnett MARTA election. And so that, like, people were like, okay, well, that doesn't apply to me. I can just stop watching this whole season.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like when we did the mayor election, it's like, okay, I don't live in the city of Atlanta, so like this doesn't apply to me. So our hope is to
sprinkle
kind of branch
around
out
a little more of the news. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you have any partnerships or any connections with other Asian American groups around the city?
So I don't know if this was a naive move, because I was like, yeah.
That's a good preface for a naive move right there.
So we were focusing on Census this next year, I guess. So once I started really learning about Census, because I had no idea what it was. I just know that there were grants that were like, hey, if you do census work, you can get money. And we're like, we need money. And then I was like, oh, wow, census is actually really important. And communities of color are always undercounted. And I was like, okay, this aligns perfectly with what we do. And then I started learning about census. Like, okay, I didn't know it was a survey. I had no idea. My parents had never filled it out before.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And then we realized, okay, yes, it's important to get millennials, Asian American millennials, to fill out the census. It's even more important for their parents. And they're usually not our target. So I was like, well, what's more important is the in-language materials, not just this like fun, like sarcastic English video. So I was like, let's make videos in all the languages.
Oh my gosh.
And my partner Fee was like, I mean, okay.
Yeah.
Like, we're busy, right? Like we're okay. And so I was like, it's fine. Like I have the time. If we're going to make one, might as well make 15.
Yeah. Why not?
I don't know why that was the thinking, but that was me 5 months ago. And then, so I started partnering with all these different Asian American organizations. And basically we wrote a script in English. We send it to them. They translate it, and then they give us 2 talent from their community. And we're like, we try to help them out with talent selection, because some people are like
Better than others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And then we come in and we shoot it in that language. And it's been really interesting.
Gosh, I
Not
bet.
editing a language that you don't understand.
Yeah, that's got to be tough.
Yeah, we try to get them to stick to the script 100%.
Yeah.
Because, like, hey, if you say a
Yeah.
single sentence that's
Right.
different, I have no idea what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then just churn those back out through your Wake Up Atlanta feed, kind of. And
So no, we will be
What do you
sending
do
it. We will be
differently?
giving it to that community organization.
Mm-hmm.
So there is an Asian American Complete Count Committee, and we're part of that. And so we basically just give it back to that group, and they can figure out what they want to do with it.
So you don't bother hosting it or anything or sending it?
No, we'll host it on a website.
Yeah.
The Complete Count Committee website.
Okay.
But we think that it's best for them to put out the material and not like Wake Up Atlanta, because like my mom doesn't follow Wake Up Atlanta, you know,
Right.
like she follows the Vietnamese community Facebook.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Lots of challenges here.
a lot of
Lots of
challenges.
fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because
Because you're learning. That's why it's fun.
yeah, sure, you're also struggling. Yeah, but through this we realized how many people support us and are willing to just come to like a 12-hour shoot and do whatever is needed, which
Means a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
really does.
Well, so if people want to check it out and want to get connected or woke through you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, we're on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook is just Wake Up Atlanta, and then on Instagram somebody has Wake Up Atlanta, so we are Wake Up _Atlanta.
There you go.
Been trying to get that, but you know
It happens.
how that is.
Well, it's fascinating. Well, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's it for another Good Gracious Show podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, you can find all the other episodes online at goodgraciousshowcom, or you can stream them through iTunes or Stitcher or any of those other things, however you like to get your podcast. What I am going to say is here we are right on the doorstep of Thanksgiving, and I'm going to take a break. I've been burning the candle at both ends for a while, so I'm still talking to folks, but I'm going to kind of pull back a bit and just let things happen as they happen between now and the new year. I've got a couple other projects that I'm really kind of excited about sharing with you, but I want to get them squared away. And also, come at this podcast again full force in the new year. So if you have any questions, if you have any ideas, any suggestions for me, any folks you think would be great podcast interviews, please send them my way. goodgraciousshowcom. You'll find me there, the email links. As well as I'm looking at a January show for the next live show. So I'll have more details about all that. But otherwise, I hope you have just a fantastic Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, whatever your chosen experience is for the holidays, or just to relax, hopefully, and think lovely thoughts. Take care. Hug somebody. Be a good neighbor.